Good evening, all. We have a quorum. This is good news. So we'll go ahead and get the meeting started. If everyone will stand, and Mr. Morris, do you mind leading us in the prayer? And thank you, sir. And from there, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Preston. Will you join me in prayer, please? Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this brand new year that we're entering into. And Lord, we pray for this meeting tonight. We pray for the mayor, city council members, Attorney Duncan, and those that will be presenting tonight, Major Mark and Mr. Vest, Fire Chief Vest, and our engineer, Dan. And I pray, Lord, for this meeting that everything would go well. And Lord, I pray that we would do it in a polite and loving manner. And I thank you that we can get our questions answered. I thank you for all the citizens that are here tonight to show their involvement in this little city. And I pray for the city as we go forward through this year, and for what the city's going to go through and what management is going to do to help us out with this new administration. And I thank you for all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. And to the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And Jessica, if you could please, roll call.
Dan Martin,
Here.
Sherry Gaskell, Caleb Flegge,
Here.
Matt Brown,
Here.
Amy Long, Rose Beach.
Thank you. And for announcements, our first event planning meeting for 2025 will be held in the Senior Center here on February the 11th at 6:15 prior to the council meeting. So if any citizens that want to join us for the planning meeting, we'll be planning right away the Easter egg hunt, but also forward planning for our bigger events. So we look forward to anyone. Just bring your neighbor, bring your friend. The more the merrier. And also City Hall will be closed on January the 20th in observance of Martin Luther King Day. And if I can, get an approval of the agenda, please.
Second.
Motion and a second, Dave.
All right. Dan Martin,
Yes.
Caleb Flegge,
Yes.
Matt Brown,
Yes.
Sherry Gaskell, Amy Long.
Yes. I jumped ahead of myself.
You did.
Okay, sorry. And we'll move on to the approval of minutes. If you'd like to combine those, state that as well.
Motion to combine as one unit and approve?
Dan Martin,
Yes.
Caleb Flegge,
Yes.
Matt Brown,
Yes.
Sherry Gaskell, Amy Long.
Would I be able to do these and skip to the vote? Because it's just one vote. And then go back to this.
It's up to you.
Okay, very good. Okay, and so we'll move on to citizens' comments. If there's any citizens in the room that has anything to share? Questions? Yes, sir.
Hey, I'm a resident of Walton, but I'm also the CFO at Best Sanitizers Inc. So we just wanted to come in to express concern about the 2% payroll tax increase, and how it's gonna be we understand the need for the new sewage facility. We sat in on the meeting in June. That was kind of discussed, and we presented an issue with the water supply. So our concern is, well, right now, our concern is that our employees are, there's a lot of buzz at the facility right now, and we're concerned with it making us less competitive, which is already challenging for us to compete with Florence and Burlington and those areas, because employees have to drive out to Walton, and by adding the additional tax. So we wanted to raise that concern, and then along with that, the concern is that if we add sewage for capacity, then, what's the offset to the water? All I see that being is potentially us and our employees are paying to fund a project that is going to suck more of the water out of the system when we're already struggling. So, we just wanted to see, we weren't here for that initial, so I'm gonna start joining so we can be more involved with the initial discussions, because I think the vote already passed. And so that's our concern, and, you know, in discussing it with my team, we think that, you know, passing the burden on to the employees, while we're not residents, we are 90%, as you said, and I looked up our roster, it is the same with our business as most. 90% of our employees are not residents of the city. But that also means that it seems like the city's burdening with, you know, it's an infrastructure for mostly the residents that people who aren't gonna benefit for that infrastructure are gonna pay for. So I didn't know if there was a way to consider, you know, if there were any considerations on whether or not it shouldn't be a surcharge to the water bills or something like that. And that comes from somebody who would also be paying that surcharge to the water bills, being a city resident. So it's not me coming from the outside and just saying I don't want to pay the payroll tax. I would pay for it one way or the other. So not having heard the history of that, and I think I saw it was intended to be implemented in maybe July or August.
And thank you, sir, and I appreciate your concern. I appreciate you being here, both as a citizen and as someone who's employed in the city. The implementation of the tax would not be what we expect to be until January of 2026. There's a lot of administrative things that need to take place, so we're a year out on that. I know there's a concern. You did mention one piece that hit me where you were saying that people were coming from other areas. The areas they're coming from, those areas have the tax. We're one of very few communities in the state of Kentucky that doesn't have an occupational tax. Your concern too about the infrastructure with the sewer, this is partly in measure to take care of what your company that you represent has struggled with for quite some time, which is your fire suppression and safety. So in that, what we're hoping to do and what we have to do for our infrastructure needs is build a new pump station for our water infrastructure. So not only is it sewer, it's water too, which I know that the corporation that you represent struggles because of that. We've had many conversations, right? And it's an immediate need.
Yeah, so if you don't mind, I don't think we quite understood. All I've read was, it was mainly on, this isn't, like I said, not having been at these meetings, I don't have the full background. I think we were under the impression it was mainly sewage, because if it's on the pump side too, then, you know, we have a vested interest. I guess that wouldn't change our overall, at least our employees' opinions, but I understand that we are one of the few, the city is, that doesn't have the city basically payroll tax. So while that selfishly would change my opinion for our company, it wouldn't necessarily change our employees' opinions, obviously, of the changes. You know, they look at it as a 2% increase, but you know, as a part of that, you know, I think we had an Ed Hay, who's been working at our company, has been working, I think, with the fire department, you know, about offering some sort of agreement on a piece of land for the pump station.
Yes,
so
sir.
I mean, we're looking to look and work with the city. We just wanted to make sure that we were under the impression it was all sewage, and we were just thinking more sewage, more capacity, less less water.
Right, and we're looking to care for both of those infrastructure needs, not only the sewer, but water. As you're aware, because you experience it through your daily work life, it's an absolute need. It was a need yesterday, it was a need a year ago, it's a need now, and it'll continue to be a need until we fix it. And the problem that we have, the struggle is coming up with whether it's going to be 10 to 22 million. There's somewhere in between. We're looking to do an extra basin at the current sewer plant. Eventually, the city is going to need a new sewer plant. So it's millions and millions of dollars. Being a resident of the city, you understand the tax burden already on our residents, and it's primarily from the school. You know, the city tax is very minute. Given that, we were tasked and challenged with how are we going to generate revenue to care for our infrastructure needs. And I'd also state, and I understand your point of view, the people who work in the city who do not live in the city, although they are only flushing the toilet a few times a day, washing their hands a few times a day, they also use our infrastructure, right? Our roads, our sidewalks. So the travel in and out, the trucks that are in and out, there's a lot that goes on in the city that, and damage is done to the roads just through normal usage. That's not just citizens, it's infrastructure needs all around. Primarily, our focus though is water and sewer, because that's where we're really behind the 8 ball. Council, do you have anything to add?
I think you summed it up pretty well, but yeah, the pump station for the water, we're probably looking at about a $5 million price tag, give or take. Sewer is looking at between 5 and 15, depending on what replacement we do, whether it's just a basin or whether it's a full unit. So both projects are definitely factoring into our budget shortfall and how we find, $15 to $20 million. So.
Right, so I think maybe some of it, and that's why I wanted to come today, was to see some misunderstanding on the exact thing. We were thinking it's 2% for sewage, and it was all going to be basically, so it's 2% of the city tax for general infrastructure and improvements. It just happens to be focused as sewage. Because we're thinking if it's a sewage project, then wouldn't it make sense to, if you build a new bridge, they're gonna put a toll on the bridge, right? Not a new payroll tax, like I said. But we were thinking of that way, as opposed to it being a way for the city to kind of help fund general budget deficits to the general budget, I guess you would say overall. Which I could tell you our employees still aren't gonna like it, but it does give a different perspective, as our original perspective was a concern that it would be sewage and we wouldn't get our water dealt with.
Well, and to be straightforward, transparent, the 2% occupational tax will be revenue, right, brought into the city. Our main focus is fixing our infrastructure needs. Now, some of that money could be used for other purposes, right? I know there's been talk of hiring a city manager, so on and so forth. So I just want to make sure that we're clear that that revenue can be used in the way that council sees fit. However, our focus and what we need to do is fix water and sewer.
Right, to me that makes more alignment to, I think, what a lot of the other cities and things are doing, as opposed to, like I said, if I thought it was just for the sewage, then I would think, well, there should be like a sewage surcharge
Understood.
to that, but if it's to the general fund, then that just happens to be the first project or priority.
Yes, sir.
So, okay.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
That makes sense.
And can we also add that the council looked at almost every other viable opportunity to be able to fund the water and the sewer projects to get those plants up without putting the burden on the businesses and the citizens of Walton. And every other way that they looked to do it was blocked some way or another where it was not a viable option, including writing different
Great options.
grants to get water, to get money to fix the water situation, and all the grants were turned down. So it was like, this is the last straw. It wasn't that they picked this the first thing to do, it was absolutely the last thing that they could do to help the city fix the infrastructure, so businesses like yours don't leave the city because they're not doing anything to fix the problems that everybody is incurring business-wise.
And that's very helpful to know.
Yeah, and to her point, unfortunately, well, we are blessed in many ways, our small community, right? When we're looking for grant opportunities, unfortunately, they see us as a rich community. It's all perspective, because we're rich in so many ways, but when we're trying to come up with $20 million, we don't feel as rich, and that money is not there. So we're going to continue to turn over every stone. We'll continue to put our name in the hat and look for opportunities for funding. We don't have years for that. We're years behind currently. So, but again, thank you for being here and expressing your opinion.
So, just this is more of a related but aside. Do we know, for my planning purposes at our company, because this significantly impacts our insurance costs for building fire coverage and whatnot. Are we planning, is the city planning on moving forward with something, knowing that they're gonna get to borrow the money, that they're gonna, an agreement to get the projects like are things kind of in motion, knowing that this is gonna go in place, or is it, hey, we're gonna start the tax in 2026, and we're gonna have to accumulate funds for another year, and then 2 years, 3 years from now, we'll see something start?
We've already reached out and looked at our bond options, so that's in the works. They understand, we were working with Kentucky League of Cities, which may be our best financing opportunity. And they understand the position that we're in. They understand too that the tax wouldn't begin until potentially January of '26. Absolutely, we're working with Mr. Bogan, our city engineer, Jerry, our operations manager, on the water side, and Mr. Bogan on the sewer side, to make sure that our plans for both facilities are in motion. So yeah, we are moving. We're not waiting.
Yeah. As soon as ideally we'll get the bonds processed, but we didn't want to pull the bonds if we didn't know we could pay for the bonds, obviously.
Right.
But no, we are not going to wait till we have money in the bank to start the infrastructure projects.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Yes, sir.
I had a question about roads and sidewalks, but I don't know if you want to wait until you talk about.
You can go ahead if Mr. Bogan, he can field it if we're,
Okay.
yeah.
Last time I asked if it could be a possibility to put curbs, traffic barriers, or
This guy comes to every meeting,
road
or whatever,
sections that
tank.
don't have sidewalks.
I saw him at
I
Tank
was
last
wondering
week.
if there's any update on that.
Not yet.
I don't know what he's up
Tried to
to.
reach somebody at KYTC prior to the holidays. That, a lot of people were off, so I'm going to check back with them this week. See if there's anything, at least that they can, kick off a safety study, see what measures are necessary.
Okay. And then about the sewer plant, is that, are you going to have to build up the same capacity as current at another location, or can you operate both simultaneously?
We'd be able to operate both. Our immediate plan, hopefully, is to build an additional basin at the existing sewer plant. That would bring us out of where we're currently in the sewer moratorium. And then our future plan, in which we'll begin to work that, we have to care for A before we can move to B. But eventually, there will be what we believe to be a new sewer plant, and they would both operate.
And about the snow removal on sidewalks and stuff, when it comes to homeowners, I know this sidewalks are your responsibility, but from what I've seen driving through Walton during this past 2 weeks, is a lot of people have been walking on the roads, especially near the shopping center. The businesses aren't individuals, but at the same time, they have McDonald's, there's just one I can name off the top of my head. I haven't seen any of the sidewalk clear. And so I'd just like to bring that concern for all those people who are walking there in a pretty dangerous position when they have to walk on the side of the road, whereas the businesses aren't taking care of their portion, taking care of the sidewalk, so it does fall on them too.
I'm not going to disagree with you. I believe we had an absorbent amount of snow. It's something that we haven't seen in quite some time, right? And I know in my neighborhood, if I had the bright idea of walking my dog and I realized there's no sidewalks visible. Mr. Duncan can speak to better than I. As far as a homeowner's concerned, if they do treat the sidewalk, then at that point, would it be truth that they're liable? Is there an ordinance in place, which I don't believe there is, that we maintain?
There is an ordinance in place that requires property owners that have sidewalks abutting their property, that the homeowner has, or the property owner has to maintain the sidewalk, snow removal. You are correct, though, that there's this natural accumulation law in Kentucky that if you leave it alone and somebody falls, you're okay. If you try to, like for example, we had 12, 14 inches of snow. If you got out there and tried to maintain it and did a bad job, you could be negligent. Now, since we do have the ordinance, I would say that most lawyers would probably try to sue you anyway, even if you didn't maintain it.
And I appreciate you bringing the question forward. I think it was a task for our Public Works gentleman who did an outstanding job to keep the roads clear, right? And then I know in order to do that, some of the snow was moved up onto the bank of what became the sidewalk and the easement there between the road and the sidewalk. So clearly, I don't have the perfect answer, but I understand your point of view too, that it is dangerous for pedestrians.
I'd just like to bring up that if they were multi-use paths, they were wider, it would be, especially with the 2% pay sub tax, if we were able to move a lot of the portions that are currently owned by businesses to citywide paths, and make them wide enough to where we could have a standardized side-by-side or some sort of small tractor to plow them as the roads are. I'd just like to bring that idea forward that I think it's a possibility with the sidewalks how they are. It takes a lot more time for someone to hand shovel them versus doing it the same way we do roads where a vehicle passes by and plows them the roads constantly. So I'd just like to bring that idea forward as when we are increasing the pace of tax, I think other quality of life improvements could also be made as a justification.
I can agree. Thank you for that. Are there any other concerns or comments? Yes, sir.
I'd like to thank the Sheriff's Department, and Major Mark in particular, for giving us this handout. Because sometimes it's hard for citizens to keep up with the numbers he's given. So now, there's so many numbers, so now we have our own copy, so I'd like to thank.
We can thank the clerk for that.
Okay. Thank you, clerk.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Morse.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, if there's no other comments or questions, we'll move along. Yes, Barb?
I want to thank the city workers for keeping the roads. I know they had a task in front of them that was, I can't even imagine them to do it myself, but they did a wonderful job considering everything that was going on at the same time.
I agree.
So, thank you.
Thank you, Barb. I don't know how many hours they totaled in that week, but I know that from Sunday on, they were working and a lot of time was pulled from their families to make sure that our roads were clear and safe, so I agree. Thank you, Jerry. If you could move that along to the men, let them know how much they're appreciated as well as you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Barb. Okay, so moving along to Sheriff's Department, Major Bill Mark. And Mr. Morris, you got your handout.
Good evening, everybody. Good to be with you all tonight. It's balmy evening. Council has a copy of my report, as do many in the audience, but I'll summarize this. There was 961 law enforcement events handled by the Sheriff's Office in and for the city of Walton in December 2024. Some of those include 6 911 hang-ups, deputies responded to 30 alarm drops. They handled 7 attempts to locate, 2 animal complaints. Deputies worked 24 auto accidents, investigated 1 burglary, which was the car wash on Chestnut Drive, and an arrest was made within a week.
Nice.
Deputies conducted 15 business checks, attempted 46 civil or criminal summonses. They handled 3 domestic disputes, 4 complaints of intoxicated persons, 6 emotional crises, 2 juvenile trouble calls, 7 motorist assists. They responded to 1 overdose, handled 8 requests for information. Deputies logged 480 spot checks. They handled 12 suspicious activity complaints, 1 theft report. Deputies logged 26 traffic complaints. They made 50 traffic stops, 1 vacation check, 15 vehicle complaints, 13 vehicle complaints. We unlocked 15 cars, handled 10 wanted person calls. All told, they issued 46 citations and made 7 arrests. Any questions I can handle from council or the audience?
got an email from the health department today or yesterday saying that overdoses have been jumping in the area. And I wasn't sure if you guys had seen the same thing or if they have different information than the sheriff's department.
It's really difficult for us to gauge. Probably the number of overdoses, I don't know how you feel about this. I think the number of overdoses that law enforcement and EMS have responded to haven't necessarily increased. I know we've been carrying Narcan for, I think, 5-6 years, and our Narcan administration has decreased significantly. But that's because Narcan is now available to the general public, over the counter. And I think so many more people maybe are treating their own overdoses as opposed to calling 911.
Okay.
But I'd be interested to see what the fire department thinks.
Yeah, the unfortunate part with the health department is it's regional. So you could have an uptick in Florence or in Erlanger, and it's not specific to us.
Okay.
We have not seen that as well as the sheriff's department. So when overdose or something, we work hand in hand with one another, so we haven't had an uptick. They're not welcome.
Gotcha.
Yeah, like I said, we've responded to one overdose in December. I think the most y'all have ever had in a month in the city is maybe 4 or 5. And that's far above the norm.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Yes, sir.
sir.
Were any of those car accidents fatal?
No, sir. Y'all haven't had a fatal accident in the city since the one on the Mary Grubbs ramp several years ago, so. And you usually, we had last year last month 24. I think typically you have very few of them that even involve any injured persons. Maybe 2 a month involve an injury. So, but yeah, no fatalities.
Thank you, Major Mark. On the agenda, it states that Chief Vest would be here this evening. He did share that his wife is in the hospital, so prayers for her. Keep her in your prayers. And we do have Assistant Chief Alexander.
Thanks, Council, for having us, the fire department here tonight. I want to stress again with Chief Vest who not be here tonight to keep his family in your prayers. We concluded 2024 with combined fire and EMS calls. We ended with 2,100 calls for the year. That's not, we really haven't had much of an increase. We're starting to trend upward now with, we have a new nursing home in Ridgewood, so that's starting to push us up a little bit. But other than that, we're averaging about 6 runs a day. That's what we're currently averaging right now. So it wasn't a really busy year, but we are starting to see kind of an uptick. We would like to thank council as well as Mayor Courtney and the Baptist Church for getting the dumpsters relocated to recycle bins from the firehouse. We can get fire trucks around the firehouse a little easier now. So our 2 new engines that we had purchased, both of those are online now and operating. Those are, all the equipment's been put on them, so we see some new fire trucks driving up down the road. We're expecting a new ambulance. That's supposed to be delivered in March. We're pretty excited about that. With ambulances, because of our call volume, we lead them up pretty good. So we're pretty excited about that. We just completed a hiring process. We added another firefighter EMT on, and we're finishing the process for a new paramedic. Our volunteer program, we still have that in place, and at the fall of each year, we start kind of a volunteer drive. We had a pretty good turnout this year. We just brought on 4, and we got probably 8 to 10 left to go into our volunteer program. So we're excited about that, getting those folks going. As far as the snow responses goes, the fire department survived Snowmageddon. We didn't have any delay of service. We didn't have to do anything special, anything out of the ordinary to get service out to our community. So he's pretty excited that we didn't have to do anything out of the ordinary. We want to remind everybody with this time of year, checking your smoke detectors, CO detectors, making sure that those are working properly. If we're using any type of alternate heating source or generators, Make sure generators are in an area where it's well ventilated. We get power outages this time of the year, so just make sure that, again, smoke detectors, CO detectors are functioning properly, and generators are outdoor, not in the same place that you're an occupied space. The same way the heating sources, a lot of people start to use space heaters or whatnot this time of year. We encourage everybody to make sure if you're using those, that the electric is sized appropriately. If you have to use extension cords, those are sized appropriately as well, just for fire safety. So, any questions for me or the fire department?
What do you guys do if there is enough snow where you can't get to a house? Or Jerry hasn't plowed yet, or it's an apartment complex that hasn't plowed yet?
They shovel.
Okay.
And for my 30 years, we've never had that.
Never, okay.
Years ago, when we were at the old station, when we had a snow like we were getting ready to have, we had backup engines, and we would jack them up, put chains on them, and be ready to go. Now, one of the things that's unique to us specifically, and a lot of fire departments don't do this, is our ambulances are four-wheel drive.
Okay.
So all of them, both this station and the other station in Ridgewood. So, I mean, the chance of us not getting something there is, and we have a Kubota with it's got a patient carrier on it. So worst case scenario, we drag that thing out there and it hits four-wheel drive. We drive up, get the patient, put them on the carrier, bring them down to the ambulance.
Okay,
But yeah, we're coming no matter what.
gotcha.
Any other questions? All right.
Thank you, sir, for all you do. Thank you. And just to piggyback on the recycle bin replacement, just a special thank you to Mr. Morse as he worked with First Baptist Church to make sure that that was an option. So thank you, gentlemen. Moving right along to Cardinal Engineering, Mr. Matt Bogan.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everybody. All right, so I actually have some updates on the pedestrian bridge project. We've been in touch with Duke Energy, and they have worked through their permitting process with Norfolk Southern on the pole relocation. They expect to be getting started with that next month. I don't have an exact day yet, but I will keep in touch with their project manager. I've sent letters to the adjoining property owners in that area just to let them know that it is coming up, and to just make sure, Duke said that make sure the area is kept accessible, no vehicles parked on the roadway, trash cans are out of the way, stuff like that, so that they can get their contractor crews in there. So, like I said, as soon as I have a better idea of at least what week, if not the day they'll be getting started, I'll communicate that to the property owners, and put signs or no parking signs or whatever, just to drive that point home, so that Duke doesn't get out there and it's blocked and they have to pull off site and come back later. So, yeah, as soon as I know something, I'll let you guys know. It's that time of year where we're starting to put together our annual resurfacing contract, getting estimates and eventually bid specs and all that. So if anybody notices any streets that look like they're in need of asphalt resurfacing, or even concrete road or sidewalk panel replacement, let me know, let Jerry know, whatever. We'll take a look at it. Right now, I've got Molly Circle in Austin Valley and the Old Nicholson Water Tower driveway on the list. From talking to Jerry, I think we'll also add Old Stevenson Mill by the park and High Street from Daniel Boone Trace to Richard Knock Highway. We had the trench patching from the water main projects over the last couple of years, and it's a little rough. They could use a fuller really just to smooth things out. We also received the newest speed hump kit. That's Mayor Courtney and I have talked about that. We're probably going to put it on Mullen Drive. Just need to kind of settle on the best location for that. Major Mark, I was going to see, could we maybe get a radar station put up, maybe in a couple locations on Mullen Drive, to see if either that first straightaway or the second one in front of that sanitizer, or if either one of those has more of a problem speeding. So
Are you looking for a speed sign, like a public speed sign, or for a speed study?
A speed study, just data collection to know if one area is worse than the other.
I'll be good with you after the meeting. Sure. Yeah, that will have to go through public works.
Okay, correct. Yeah, I appreciate it. And then, on the, following up on the Wareco Drive drainage issue, I've been working on getting a design for, consolidating the storm sewer system, taking some of the burden off, and dumping into that depression there. Once the snow's melted off, I'd like our field crew to go out and topo the new area where it was regraded last year, to know how much cover we have, just so we can know how deep the pipes need to go, but we've got something that works and be able to put that in this project. Any comments or questions from council or public? Okay.
Thank you, Matt.
As always, greatly appreciated, Mr. Bogan. Tara, if you don't mind, we're going to move to the 2 votes, and then we'll come back with your presentation. Thank you very much. Okay, council, you have a packet for the bid solicitation for Catalina Drive and Plum Street water line replacement, also John Street water line extension. And Monarch Engineering, they did recommend one of the bids. This should have came an email too. Did everyone get it in email?
I think so.
Very good. And so they have recommended, and it's below what they believed we were gonna come in at, but again, Lonkard Construction Company, and it's located in Union. And Mr. Duncan, we can vote on that by motion, right?
Yes. Mhm.
Matt, have we worked with them before?
Yeah,
They did the force main
Okay.
from Jones Road all the way up, towards St. James,
Mhm.
and then
Okay,
they did a good job.
gotcha.
Yeah, they've done some other odds and ends projects several years ago, and they've done the water and sewer installation on a lot of the private development around the
Okay.
city. So
Gotcha.
they do a good job.
Okay.
And just for transparency and for the citizens in the audience, the construction cost is slightly under the revised estimated budget of $592,000. The total project with the contingency allowance for the engineering fees would be approximately $593,000 all in. Based on, bear with me. So as you're reading this with me, council, in the last paragraph, it says, we recommend the city consider awarding the contract to Lonkard for the base bid amount of $454,400. Have you reviewed this, Mr. Bogan? No. And so I'm assuming the construction cost was slightly under the revised estimated budget of the total project cost with the standard contingency 10%. That would not equal. Am I reading that wrong? Do you all see that and understand that? Because 10%, if it's 454,000, 10% wouldn't get us to the total that I'm seeing on the paper.
Yeah, then they're adding in engineering design on the last page.
Oh, okay,
there.
very good.
Yeah, that threw me off as well.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Bogan's our subject matter expert. Okay, so the development, 454,400. And then we have the engineering design and the contingency near 100,000. Construction inspection of 34,800. And the legal administration and easements of 10, so it's projected that it would be 593,000. By motion, we can accept.
Is that all in the budget?
It is, we budgeted higher.
Motion to accept the bids from Lonkard Construction Company.
Second vote.
Dan Martin,
Yes.
Caleb Plaggy,
Yes.
Matt Brown,
Yes.
Amy Long.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you. Sorry, I was confused with that. And then we have Executive Order 2025-01, which I dropped in front of you, Mr. Duncan, just so that you
Yeah.
could bring everyone up to
Right.
speed. Thank you.
Right. The city of Walton is part of a countywide emergency operations plan. From time to time, the county updates the operations plan. They have just done that, so the mayor has signed off on the update to the county emergency operations plan. And the statute requires that we engage in one either with the county or by ourselves. We've historically done it with the county. So this puts the updates and the improvements into effect for the city. This is something that the mayor does as an executive order, so this is an informational item on the agenda tonight. You all don't need to vote on it.
Thank you, sir. Is that just a coincidence that they're both, because one's an executive order? Oh, because it's the New Year, so they're
Yeah.
both going to be,
Right.
okay, very good.
First one for both.
Thank you. And so we'll move along to Municipal Order 2025-01. A municipal order of the city of Walton, Kentucky. This would be an order of the city of Walton, Kentucky, naming a dead-ended spur between 415 Jones Road, right at the American Legion, and Richard Knock Highway as Ross Kearns Drive. Just a little background with that, we have two decorated veterans, Lawrence Kearns and Woodrow Ross Jr. They were both great citizens of our small town, but also very active with the American Legion. And a gentleman named Art Green, and with the previous administration, as Gabe was in office, brought it to council and wanted to recognize the veterans for not only being highly decorated veterans, but also being pivotal in saving the American Legion. And so with that, we've just picked up the torch and carried it. Mr. Green has stayed in constant contact, and this is a way to memorialize both gentlemen. And Mr. Duncan, if you want to.
Yeah. Mayor, I do have one typographical error that I made when I drafted this. As you read it, it was between the American Legion and Richard Knock Highway. Actually, it's 101 Richard Knock Highway. So I've corrected that.
Thank you.
And if it passes, I'll ask you to sign this one instead of the one that you had.
Yes, sir.
The title is a municipal order of the city of Walton, Kentucky, naming a dead-ended spur between 415 Jones Road, the American Legion, and 101 Richard Knock Highway as Ross Kearns Drive. It's very short. I'm going to read the rest of it. Whereas construction of Richard Knock Highway severed the connection between High Street and Jones Road and created a dead-ended spur between 415 Jones Road, which is a location of American Legion, and 101 Richard Knock Highway, as shown on the map below. Whereas the mayor and council of the city of Walton now wish to honor the memory of two outstanding community leaders and military veterans, Woodrow Ross Jr. and Lawrence C. Kearns, by naming the dead-ended spur Ross Kearns Drive. So therefore, the rest of it just basically says we're naming it that. It doesn't have a name now. As I indicated, it's a dead-ended spur. It used to be part of Jones Road and High Street, and it sort of got separated when they built that industrial subdivision and the Richard Knock Highway. So if you'd like to honor those veterans that way and name the road after them, you can do that by adopting this municipal order by motion.
Make a motion to adopt this municipal order?
Second.
Dan Martin,
Yes.
Caleb Plaggy,
Yes.
Matt Brown,
Yes.
Amy Long.
Yes.
Thank you. And Jerry and Matt, I know that you'll be working to make sure that GIS 911's updated and the sign is ordered, so thank you for that in advance. Great appreciation. I will note that we did contact the American Legion, and they did say, hey, can the city service that road? So, and you and I talked about that previously, that we, of course, would do snow removal there as well. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Here's a new original.
This is the one I should sign?
Mhm.
Thank you very much. Okay, so moving right along, we do have Tara with the Northern Kentucky Area Development District, and she's gonna share some information with us. Thank you, Tara.
Do you have enough handouts for the audience?
Yeah, absolutely. Please and thank you.
Every time I see that, I would just want to turn it over.
It's not too.
Because the maps that they are on our website, and so if anybody wants to do this PowerPoint. And I will add that this is my notes, so I'm not like texting. Okay, good evening, Mayor, Council, members of the community. My name is Tara Johnson-Nome, and I am the Executive Director of the Northern Kentucky Area Development District. I was speaking to Mr. Morris at my table, and he said, gosh, I haven't heard that organization, which is exactly why I'm here this evening. Our organization tends to be a little bit more behind the scenes, but we are engaging in a community outreach effort to make sure that our cities, our counties, our special districts, as well as your constituents, individuals, as well as employers, do know about the services that we have. Let me start again. The Area Development District is a quasi-governmental organization as well as a 501c3 nonprofit. We're a little bit unique, but we are one of 15 area development districts that have created a network across the Commonwealth of Kentucky. We were actually created in statute by the General Assembly in the early 1970s. So we celebrated our 50th anniversary a couple of years ago. So every county in Kentucky and all the cities within that county are served by one of those 15 area development districts. And we do a variety of things, providing technical assistance and support for our communities. When we were established, it was because a lot of new funds were coming from the federal government, and it was a way to regionally provide technical expertise and to handle large funds that maybe individual communities wouldn't be able to handle individually. And those range widely. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. We have about 155 different sources of funding. None of those are direct tax dollars, but 80% of our funds are either local, state, or federal public dollars. And so we take the stewardship of those funds very, very seriously. In a nutshell, we sum up our mission, which is quite broad, as collaborate, empower, and convene. So just wanted to, again, thank you for the opportunity to talk about a little bit about what we do, and certainly happy to answer any questions at the end that anybody has. We are a collaboration. We think of ourselves as a collaboration of local leaders and staff that support and empower local communities by convening stakeholders and implementing quality services. And we leverage specific expertise across a wide variety of areas and hopefully then help our communities make data-informed decisions. Aging and disability services, community development and planning, financial compliance and management, food insecurity support, local government services, and workforce development. Let's see. We have a 39-member board, which is quite large, and that is outlined in the state statute. We are very grateful to Mayor Courtney for her membership on our board. All 8 of our judges executive, quite a few mayors, and then citizen members make up those 39 members, and then the citizen members are based on population size of the county. So in Boone County, the members on our board are Judge Gary Moore, Mayor Julie Auberjon, Mayor Terry Courtney, Pat Rafferty, Marie Schenkel, Caroline Wiltzer, and Lisa Wilson-Plager are those 4 citizen members. They are appointed by the fiscal court. And Lisa Wilson-Plager is actually currently on our executive committee, serving as first vice chair. Just in case you're wondering if Boone has the representation, they very much do. That's the maximum number of citizen members that are possible based on the population size. Kenton also has 4 citizen members. Our smaller counties, Owen, Gallatin, Carroll, Pendleton, and Grant, they each have 1 citizen member, again, because of the population size differences. We are charged with overseeing a number of behind-the-scenes and foundational programs. But in May of this year, our board did pass a new strategic plan, really charging the staff with getting out more in the community. We don't really have all those funds that we oversee, none of them come with communication dollars. So our senior staff have been out hitting the pavement, going to meetings like this. Our effort is hopefully to finish 60 jurisdictions, council commission meetings by the end of February. Yes, 60 is the region that we oversee. The strategic plan really calls for that communications, also board operations look, internal staff operations, and then programming. We want to make sure that we are responsive to the ever-changing needs of the communities and the individuals that we serve. So I'm just going to go over briefly kind of each of our areas and how we can offer services to your community. This is kind of going to roughly mirror what's in your annual report that I gave. There is a PowerPoint too, and it sort of has similar information, so if you want to follow along. I'm not always the best at following notes, but I will try. So aging and disability services is actually our largest division by both number of staff that we have as well as the budget. The idea in kind of general terms is we are responsible for trying to help the older adults in our community and individuals with disabilities live independently in their homes for as long as they wish to do so. That's not always possible, so we also have some programs like the Ombudsman's Office, where if someone is in a nursing or long-term care facility and they feel like maybe their rights are not being upheld, they maybe don't feel safe, we also have staff that can go in and investigate and make sure that those people are being treated appropriately. But as far as the older adults services, I did hand out the kind of the teal book that's at your table. We have these online, so if you guys need more in the audience, we can get you more. It's a great way to just think about who might need help. And then we have a resource line, the Aging and Disability Resource Center, or ADRC. You can call or email and just have a friendly voice on the other end of the phone, kind of helping someone navigate. A lot of times it's not the individual, it might be their son or their daughter or their neighbor, somebody who's recognizing an older adult maybe having a little trouble and knowing that they need some resources and trying to figure out what's out there. I know for my own family, my grandmother moved in with my parents. This has been many years ago. And my parents were professionals, but they weren't medical professionals. And so, after a while of having another person in their house, they realized they needed some help. They were able to call the ADRC and just understand what was out there. And sometimes it's not money, it's just a resource or an idea or maybe just some other people to talk to you about what's going on. And so the ADRC has that. They also have a lot of fun programming for older adults. They help funnel the funds from the state that go to run our senior centers and have congregate meals, home-delivered meals for those that can't get out, senior games for active older adults that want to stay involved in the community, and caregiver programs for people. A lot of times as family members, we don't think of ourselves as caregivers. We think of our family and we just want to help our family. But there are programs out there, even respite. If you think of, like I mentioned, my parents, for example, they were caring for my grandmother 24/7. Thankfully, they had each other, so they were able to, hey, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to go to the grocery by myself for a minute and take a minute. Some people don't have that situation, and so there are respite programs out there for caregivers who need a moment to just collect themselves to best care for their loved one. We have the access and the information about all those various things, and we would be happy to help you and your constituents kind of work through some of that information. So please use the resources there. The other sheet, there's lots of phone numbers on the sheets that I gave you, so we'd be happy to answer any questions through our Aging and Disability Resource Center if you have any. So definitely that's one of those things that we want people to know that it's available. I will say one quick thing about that though. In this day and age, when you get a call that you don't recognize on your phone, sometimes you don't answer it. So if someone calls the ADRC, unfortunately there is a high need. Our population tends to be aging across the United States. And so there is a lot of need. So sometimes people have to leave a message. It can be about 24 hours to get a call back. So if you did leave a message and someone calls you and you don't know who they are, you need to answer it at least long enough to say, is this the Aging and Disability Resource Center? Because otherwise it's going to be challenging to make that connection. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, there is an email address too. And then you can establish a time and an appointment. Okay, moving on quickly. Mayor Courtney and I have already talked a little bit about this, so I'm not going to go too deep into it, but we do a lot of things with community development planning. Helping write grants from anything from brownfields to broadband, other programs like water and wastewater planning, we've talked about those already, hazard mitigation, things of that sort. That team also has some really great mapping GIS services, and so they are available if you ever need a map or something like that, and it can be on any topic. So they also do centerline mapping. I believe the city of Walton has already approved the new center lines, but occasionally from year to year, we have a team that will remap new roads like the one that you just approved, and so we can make sure that the names are correct, and so that way emergency responders have the right names in the system and so forth. So we help with a number of things like that. Our local government services team also helps with everything from executive searches to tax rate calculations and revenue studies and things like that. We can kind of be, an extra set of hands if you ever need any assistance, and so that's available. I'm going to move on pretty quickly to our workforce development team. In essence, with a number of different programs, some of them state, some of them federal, our workforce development program is charged with connecting employers to talent and job seekers to gainful employment. And that might sound really easy to make that match. I know we have an employer in the audience. Sometimes it's not as easy as you might think. People maybe have barriers to getting to work, whether those are transportation or childcare or skills that are needed. And sometimes employers just have so much going on and the job market's kind of constantly changing. It can just be challenging to find the help that you need. And so we have a few, like I said, different programs. We have a partnership also with BNKY, the Economic Development Entity for Boone County Campbell, that's called NKY Works, that's designed to focus on employers. And then we have a number of programs for job seekers, people coming out of recovery, people that are new to the area, like all kinds of different things. So if you ever have any companies that are just thinking, hey, what's out there in terms of talent, or you have somebody, maybe a neighbor or a friend or someone you know that's looking for a job, you can always refer them to the Northern Kentucky Career Center. There are physical locations in Boone County at both the airport and on the same campus of the Florence Government Center. We space from the city, it's not in the Florence City building, but it's like that same campus. Or they can go online at careercenter.org and get started on their career path. We have 16 different organizations that are partners of ours that help from everything from transportation to maybe somebody has a disability. We actually had an employee at the ad who unfortunately has been losing her sight. She cannot afford the very complex glasses that she needed to be able to continue to see and to do her job. And so we actually reached out to our partner, the Office of Vocational Rehabilitation, to get her this thing that goes over her computer screen. It helps her see, and she was able to keep working. So there's a lot of really cool things that we can do to help people out. Some of them have costs associated. Sometimes it's just having a mentor to kind of walk through interview training to help somebody who's maybe not interviewed. Maybe they've worked somewhere for a really long time and then they got laid off and they haven't done a job interview for a while and they're not comfortable with, virtual interviews now. That's a big thing. It's your first interview is, on a screen. Some people don't feel comfortable with that. So the Career Center can help people out kind of no matter where they are in their job search. So with that, I will end with talking about finances. You can see there in our annual report, we do have a pretty large budget as far as nonprofits go. It's around this past year about $36 million, but about 70% of that is sounds weird, so I want to give you an example. Meals on Wheels. Northern Kentucky receives funding for individuals who are homebound, who need help staying in their homes. They need help getting a warm meal each day. Well, we don't have staff we don't have a kitchen. So what we do is when we receive those dollars from the state, the General Assembly allocates them so that older adults have that warm meal, and it's much less expensive to give the meal than it is to have this person in a supported, long-term care facility. So the General Assembly invests in that. It comes to our region. We contract with a couple of providers, but mostly Meals on Wheels, to get those meals out in the community. And so we are overseeing the contract. We're making sure those meals are getting delivered. We're monitoring Meals on Wheels to make sure the quality is there, all of those things. And so that's what I mean by pass-through. We get the money, and then we get it out the door and into the community, sometimes in the form of meals, sometimes in the form of a spay and neuter program that a local charity gives us to make sure we're keeping as many pets out of our animal shelters as possible. Sometimes it's in the form of workforce development support. So it can be a lot of different things. We are a lot of things to a lot of different organizations and a lot of different people. But we are very proud to be able to serve our community, and happy to answer any questions that you might have, Mayor and Council, or community. I know it was a lot.
It's great information, Tara. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions? It is a lot of information. I challenge each of us up here at this table just to dive in and see what the services are.
I would just maybe also close with, if there's ever something and you think, gosh, I'm not sure where to begin with that, we're happy to take calls, and even if it isn't us, we probably have a pretty good idea of maybe what the resource would be in the community, and we're happy to be that, connection or dot connector, if you will, to say, oh, that's not us, but this is who it is. We're happy to do that.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you for your time and
Yes,
all the
thank you
information. Yes, ma'am.
so much.
Okay, so moving along to, if there's no, well, I'll just circle back if anyone in the audience has any questions or concerns before we move to council comments. Council comments. Councilwoman Long.
It's good to see everybody. Thank you very much. I'm very glad to get a good thing going on the High Street Bridge. Yeah, that's good. Y'all have a happy New Year.
Welcoming Councilman Flaggy to his first council meeting. Do you have any comments?
I just want to say I'm super excited to be up here and getting to serve my community in this way. I look forward to learning a lot from the people here, and really excited about it. So thank you guys.
Thank you. Councilman Martin?
I have nothing.
What?
Sorry. I don't have anything.
And Mr. Brown, you don't have anything for us? The only thing that I'll add, thank you again. It's nice looking out and seeing a full house, so great appreciation. I did want to note, I did speak to Boone County before coming here today, and we had an opening on the Board of Adjustments. Steve Hayden, his position had ended, and Barb Farrow is reclaiming her spot on the Board of Adjustments. And so he'll be reaching out to you. He'll be reaching out to Rebecca and Jessica as well. So just thank you, Barb. You're always willing to serve in whatever capacity. We've been honored to have you up here with us, and this will be your second go-around on Board of Adjustments. So just great appreciation for your willingness to do that.
I was gonna say, they're doing the annual training tomorrow night from 4:30 to 8 o'clock to tell me, because I've got emails for it.
Did he get in touch with you? No. He told me he was going to reach out to you to determine what the length of the service would be. But if you're able to make it tomorrow night, I know that's short notice, then there's an opportunity. But again, thank you for your willingness to serve.
Mayor, have you actually appointed her?
Boone County is appointing her.
Oh, on the Boone County part of it?
Yes. We
The
missed.
Boone County Board of Adjustment, not the Walton Board of Adjustment.
Well, it is for Walton, but we did not get communications. They were being sent to Gabe and Giovanna.
Oh.
And so he reached out to me to say, hey, this is going to be our opportunity to appoint, but we want your feedback. And when we talked about Barb, he was like, absolutely.
And whose term is she taking?
Steve Hayden.
Okay. So they're gonna take care of the appointment and the
They are.
swearing in and all that?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Again, thank you everyone for being here. Happy New Year. We've got a great year ahead of us. I challenge each of you to come every month, and we're looking forward to a lot of community interaction with our events planning this year, so that and we've also got something in the works for Business Council. There's something else that we're interested in where neighbors can help out neighbors. But a vision would be the kind of the way that Walton Verona High School does Wake Up Walton, where we come together as a community just in an effort to beautify Main Street, our community. So if you're social media active, then just kind of paying attention to the city Facebook page, the city website for more information regarding that, or coming to the planning events and being here at our meetings. Caucus first Tuesday, council second Tuesday.
Is our assistant city clerk position still open to be applied for, or does that end?
It is.
Okay.
Do you know the date on that?
Closes Tuesday because we're not here Monday, so.
The 21st, I think, is the deadline.
Okay.
Did everyone hear Dan's question? So there's an open position currently for a deputy clerk spot with the city of Walton. And Dan was asking when the deadline was to apply for that. And Jessica confirmed that it would be Tuesday.
Tuesday, because we're closed Monday, so.
Thank you, and we can adjourn by motion.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Dan Martin,
Oh,
Yes.
Yeah,
Caleb Pluggy,
Yes.
Matt Brown,
yeah.
Amy Long.
Yes.
Everyone have a good evening.